In this 3D Shoemaker video, I'm going to explore covering 3D printed orthotic insoles with conventional materials, suede in particular. The attachment approach I will be demonstrating will be DIY friendly for the hobbyist printing models from 3dshoemaker.com. But the pros out there, with their vacuum tables, etc., may still appreciate the parts on CAD, speed, and automation. The advantage of 3D printing orthotic insoles over conventional approaches is improved automation and accessibility, given how inexpensive, compact, and simple 3D printers have become, particularly FDM printers. However, there are also some challenges that need to be overcome. These mainly relate to breathability, surface texture, variable stiffness and hardness, and print time. I was able to address some of these issues in my previous iteration. I used foaming TPU, which only becomes particularly soft after exiting the extruder, making it easy to quickly achieve soft results. To achieve breathability, I printed with exposed infill. This required printing in a near vertical orientation because foaming TPU tends to droop and string significantly. A vertical orientation was also key for reducing visible striations. To support printing in this orientation, I developed a skirt and shell support technique. It works well, but at the cost of additional material and print time. And at the end of the day, it is still a closed-cell foamed thermoplastic. The disadvantages become most apparent with direct skin contact. The lack of sweat absorption can be uncomfortable, and despite being quite soft, the surface texture remained overly noticeable. To reach professional quality, I see no real alternative to attaching a conventional top covering. Out of all the top cover choices out there, I like suede. It is incredibly soft and durable, and when split to a 1 mm thickness, it still has decent give. And being a natural, tried and true shoemaking material, it creates a nice synergy with modern materials. To attach the top covering, there are of course specialized vacuum presses and adhesives, and anyone doing this professionally will already be familiar with them. For demonstration purposes, I'm using a more DIY approach. For adhesive, I'm using a water-based contact cement, Renia Aquilum 315, which is better for home use than solvent-based alternatives. To get a good bond to the TPU, I've found it necessary to first rough up the printed part. It is somewhat time-consuming compared to using a primer, but once again, that would introduce fumes. To further help get a good bond, I do 2 coats on each surface, letting them get tacky, then applying some heat. Then, to apply pressure, I'm sandwiching the foam and loading with some weight, leaving it for a day. Then I'm simply using scissors to trim excess material rather than a grinding wheel you'd find in a professional setup. All in all, this DIY approach works well, but it is time consuming. One inadvertent benefit of using a top covering is that the surface quality of the printed part itself becomes much less important. This means we can go back to printing horizontally. Supports are no longer necessarily required, reducing both material use and print time. The reduced part height also allows per part rather than per layer printing. This means an entire pair can be printed in one session with far fewer travel moves, reducing intra-part stringing and shortening print time. That said, the print times I'm currently seeing are still fairly long, around a couple hours per side, which labs using conventional methods will likely scoff at. However, there are several things that can be done to reduce this. First, there are high-speed TPU nozzles, including those from Bamboo Lab. Then, there is Recruse's 2.2 mm foaming TPU filament, which can be pushed much harder without buckling than 1.75 mm filament. Combined with their high-speed nozzle for bamboo printers, this can dramatically reduce print times. They also sell materials for pellet printers, which eliminates the whole limp noodle issue entirely. Or, if reducing manual labor is the priority, belt printers can continue producing pair after pair for days at a time without operator intervention. These solutions still won't match the speed of conventional methods, but that comparison assumes a single printer. The reality is that modern printers are intended to be used in large farms. Once you have 10 printers running simultaneously, the equation starts to change. Printing horizontally without supports does create another challenge because the bottoms of orthotic insoles are often not flat. Instead, they are designed around the intended footwear, which may include heel height, toe spring, and transverse curvature. For this reason, I've introduced an option on 3dshoemaker.com for orthotic insole models to be flattened, and for users of the 3D Shoemaker plugin for Rhino, there is also a checkbox for removing heel height and toe spring when creating orthotic bodies. As for transverse curvatures in the plugin, these currently need to be removed by modifying the shoe last itself, possibly compensating by adding material centrally. If there is enough interest, this is something that could eventually be automated in the plugin. I'm quite pleased with the covered orthotic insoles I've demonstrated in this video. They do require considerably more manual labor and move away somewhat from the ideal of a purely 3D printed product. However, if the goal is truly professional quality, I think the top covering is essential. In a future video, I'll show how to advance these even further with stiffness modifiers. That's all for this 3D Shoemaker video. If you found it helpful, please like and subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to receive notifications of future videos. Thanks for watching.